Hey everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing the Beatles Mobile Fidelity box set. This is released in 1982. Now I picked this up about a year and a half ago, so I've had some time to sit with it and really get a good idea of each of the pressings inside of this. And what I'm going to do on this video is I'm going to show you exactly what's inside this box, and I'm going to break down each of the individual albums that you get inside this Mobile Fidelity box set. And you probably will be surprised that there are a bunch in here that I really like, and that in the past I've reviewed some of these before, like I reviewed the Abbey Road Mobile Fidelity, I've talked about the Magical Mystery Tour Mobile Fidelity pressing, the Sgt. Pepper pressing as well. And some of those I liked, some of them I didn't. In this box set though, there are some pressings in here that I haven't talked about before that I really like a lot, that I think rival some of the best pressings out there for Beatles pressings. So let's first get into this box set and talk about what you get. So it comes in a very cool black case, and it has a very interesting latch right here, and that's how you open it, and this is how it opens. I'm trying to balance this the best I can. And there they are, all in there, and I think it's very cool. It's a cool design. And let's see, let's take out each of the albums here. So, well, before I take out the albums, let's talk about exactly what comes in here. So, you get 14 LPs. So it's all the Beatles UK albums, basically, including the US version of Magical Mystery Tour. So, you're getting basically almost everything the Beatles recorded is in this box set. Now that being said, all the songs from their EPs, like Long Tall Sally, I Call Your Name, those songs are not included in this box set, which is kind of a drag, but so obviously later on they would fix that problem by including Past Masters Volumes 1 and 2, which did include a bunch of those kind of leftover tracks, like when they put out the 2009 box set. I'm looking up there because that's where my stereo box set is. Anyway, so you get the 14 LPs, you get this thing called a geodisc. We're starting out with the boring stuff first because let's get it out of the way. Geodisc, this is so you can set up your turntable and have the tone arm and the needle properly balanced and all that kind of stuff. So it's a cool tool to include. Very cool back in the day to include this as well. So interesting addition, but it's part of the box. Then you get this booklet. Now, it appears that it's just a white booklet, but it just has this outside protection, and really the booklet looks like this. Just the same as the box itself. And what's inside of this, you get, first off, a certificate of limited warranty, which is right there. And this basically just says that if there's anything wrong with anything in the box set, that in 120 days, which is definitely not 1982 anymore or 83. We're way past it, but they were willing to replace whatever needed to be replaced within the box set if there were any type of flaws. So that's pretty cool. But then inside the booklet, you get a certificate of authenticity, and it just tells you that these were apparently a limited run, and mine happens to be number 17,166. That's kind of cool. Then they tell you detailed information about how they created these new pressings here. They used the original, well, when they could, allegedly use the original master tapes that they got from EMI Abbey Road Studios. And then they talk about the, let's see, the half-speed mastering. That's a big deal when it comes to Mobile Fidelity. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Mobile Fidelity were either the inventors or one of the first to do half-speed mastering. I could be wrong about that, but anyway, then you get the reproduction of the UK album sleeves in this booklet as well. So I won't go through all of them. It just shows you, it's all the stuff we're all used to seeing. And there's a reason why they reproduced these in here, because the actual records themselves are very cool. They have included the original stereo master tape boxes, pictures of the boxes, which I think one of the highlights of this box set. And I know that sounds crazy, but to me, this stuff is very cool. I'm going to zoom in here so you can really have a good look at this. This is for Please Please Me. I'll kind of tilt it this way so you can see a little bit more. But yeah, it's the original Stereo Master tape box, and that's the same thing on the back for side B. And I gotta say, they really went all out with this box set as far as packaging goes. These are very nice, sturdy sleeves. Inside, they give you a lot of protection here. So it comes with another cardboard sleeve like this that then opens up. You pull it out and you get a very, very nice inner sleeve here. Very, keeps the records in tip-top shape. And the record label for all of them are all the same. The white Mobile Fidelity label that I'm sure a lot of you are used to seeing. I'll zoom in here. There it is. And what's interesting about these records as well, as my camera tries to refocus, there we go. If you hold these up to the light, they are translucent. So they're kind of like a very, very dark, kind of like yellowish red, almost like I guess yellow red would be orange, but it's almost like a more of a red than a yellow. But anyway, they're translucent, which is interesting. I won't be able to do that for you now on camera, but just believe me, if you hold it up to the light, they're translucent. So that's what you get for each of the albums. Beautiful packaging. They didn't cut any corners when it comes to what they're giving you. So they get an A+ in my book for packaging. Let's now talk about the sound and each of these pressings. So now that we have Please Please Me out of the box, we'll start with Please Please Me. Please Please Me. So I should mention before we start as well that, and I should get this back in here in a semi-reasonable way so I don't mess something up. Okay, so all of the recordings in this box set, except for, and we'll talk about that later, there's a couple of exceptions. These are all the original UK stereo mixes. So this is the stereo mix of Please Please Me. And I gotta say, right off the bat, this is the very first album I listened to when I got this box set. This one really kind of took my breath away. The clarity and the just presence of the recording just came flying off of the record. It really, really sounded really good. I almost couldn't believe how good it sounded. And it really got my hopes up for this whole box set. So in the past, like I said, I have listened to a lot of these pressings before, but I've never actually owned it myself and had them for, you know, an extended period of time where I could take my time and listen to them in depth. I had never listened to the Please Please Me pressing before in this box set. So this was brand new to me. There's a couple ones that are brand new as well, and I'll make sure to mention that in this video. But the previous Mobile Fidelity pressings I've heard, like I mentioned earlier, were Abbey Road, Sgt. Pepper, and Magical Mystery Tour, and I think the White Album as well. And in the past, I really liked Abbey Road. I still like the Abbey Road Mobile Fidelity pressing a lot. I think it's a really nice pressing of Abbey Road. It has its flaws, but it's definitely very, very nice. And I've obviously also made a video about Magical Mystery Tour and how much I dislike that pressing. So when I listened to Please Please Me, this very first one, I was just so pleasantly surprised at how great this sounded. Here comes Bob the cat, by the way. Those of you who've been asking about Bob the cat, little intermission here. Bob the cat is doing great. He is 16, 17 years old, somewhere around there. Took him to the vet a while ago. Clean bill of health, so he's doing fantastic. He's probably going to make an appearance here. You see him walking around in the back, you'll know it's Bob. So my favorite stereo pressing of Please Please Me in the past has always been a UK Harry T. Moss pressing that you can find in the blue box. Those sound amazing to me always. I know a lot of people really, really like the German pressing of Please Please Me, which I think is called like Die Beatles. And I'll put a photo of that up over here so you can see what that looks like. That one sounds amazing as well. I don't own that pressing anymore. I had one for a while and I ended up selling it because I got a good deal on it. So, but I do like that as well. But to me, the UK Harry T. Moss pressings are excellent as well. This right here, it's a different experience, I will say that. I think it's a little bit further away maybe from what the Beatles' original intentions were as far as the overall sound. But this honestly almost rivals the Harry T. Moss pressing. And I don't say that all that often, but this really does sound great. So that's Please Please Me, which I really liked. Next up, we have With the Beatles. Now, this one is one that completely took me by surprise, and this is my new favorite way to listen to With the Beatles in stereo. Granted, listen to that sentence again, in stereo. This is my favorite stereo pressing of With the Beatles. This one, like Please Please Me, totally blew me away. The clarity, the presence of all the songs. It feels like the Beatles are in your living room when you turn this thing up. It's so great. The drums are so punchy. The bass is really realistic. And I think the reason why this album really benefits from the Mobile Fidelity treatment, and I should mention, there are a lot of rumors, and they're not confirmed, but there are a lot of rumors out there, and I believe it to be kind of true, that Mobile Fidelity, when they remaster these albums, with their EQ, they do the smiley face EQ, which is to increase a lot of the lows, kind of lower some of the mids, and increase a bunch of the highs. Now, to a lot of people, this sounds really, really bad. To some people, it sounds amazing. I'm kind of in between. I think for some albums, it really works. Some albums, it really ruins it. For this album, when all the pressings I've heard of this, the bass is always lacking on this particular album with the Beatles. And it's nice to have the bass boosted on here, but not in an inauthentic way. It's almost like they boosted the bass, but they've kept the integrity of the recording, of that warmth. It still sounds really, really good to me. So this album totally benefits from the Mobile Fidelity treatment. And like I said, this is my new go-to for stereo with the Beatles. If you can get your hands on one of these, I totally recommend it. I've seen these individually sold for like anywhere from like $200 to like even up to like $500. So they're pretty pricey, but it's totally worth it. It sounds amazing. And I would have never heard this if I didn't pick up this box set. Because I have a couple friends, by the way, I should mention, that own this box set, which I've listened to theirs a couple of times, either at their house or they brought a couple of pressings over to mine. We've listened to it. But yeah, being able to own it, like I said, it's a different experience. So With the Beatles is definitely a highlight of this box set for me. And yeah, With the Beatles, excellent. Next up, if you're following along at home, which I'm sure you are, we have A Hard Day's Night. Now, this, again, like Please Please Me and With the Beatles, sounds really good. Does it sound better than my favorite stereo pressing of Hard Day's Night? No, I don't think it does. If you can find a really clean Harry T. Moss pressing from the mid-70s that comes from the blue box, to me, those are the best way to hear A Hard Day's Night. Those are such just brilliant sounding pressings. So clear, just so warm, really nice. This is also clear and really warm and really nice, but I think it's a little bit harsh maybe in the high end for me. And there's a few moments on here that I think maybe the bass at times is a little bit overblown. But generally speaking, I really do like this pressing of A Hard Day's Night. And again, one that kind of took me by surprise. So Hard Day's Night, Mobile Fidelity, I definitely like it, this particular pressing. But it's not going to replace any of my favorite pressings of it. Next up, Beatles For Sale. Beatles For Sale, a lot of you probably know, is one of my favorite Beatles albums. I think it's the most overlooked of all the Beatles albums. And this Mobile Fidelity pressing of it, it sounds really good. It's a lot like A Hard Day's Night for me. It's got great clarity, but I think at times it can be a little shrill up in the high on the high end. Also, it can be a little blown out with some of the bass, which is actually kind of surprising because this, like with the Beatles, it always feels like the bass is lacking on any pressing I've ever heard. But I think for me, my favorite pressing of Beatles For Sale, which changes from time to time, but right now I think one of my favorite pressings of it is a German pressing of Beatles For Sale. And it beats this Mobile Fidelity pressing by quite a lot, I would say. But this isn't bad in any way, I will say that. It's not like a complete mess, but it's just kind of okay. So Beatles For Sale. Next up, we have Help, Mobile Fidelity pressing. And this was just kind of okay for me as well. My favorite pressing of Help, I'm sure a lot of you know, is a German pressing on the German Apple label. And I think I'll show you a picture of that. It's over here. And that pressing is just a brilliant sounding stereo pressing. The stereo separation on that is just so amazing. This Mobile Fidelity pressing, it just kind of lacks a little bit of that magic, is what I would say. And when I say magic, I'm sure it's so easy just to say magic and you're going, what's he talking about? Magic. For me, magic, when I'm listening to a pressing, it's that feeling of presence, like the music is actually being played in the room. There's that like, where the high end is just so crystal clear that it just soars out of the speakers. The low end isn't overblown, it just is natural. So that's what I mean by magic. And this, at times, is lacking that magic. The high end, again, it's a little bit shrill at times. The low end is a little bit kind of weird, is what I would say. So overall, it's nice to have this and listen to it. And again, it's not a bad sounding record in any way, but it's just not one of my favorite, and it's never going to take the place of the German pressing of Help that I love so much. All right, next up is Rubber Soul, which is also one of my favorite Beatles albums, and I'm sure one of yours as well. This pressing of Rubber Soul is great. Really, really nice. All the acoustic guitars on here are like sparkle and have a really, really great sound. It rivals, for me, it doesn't surpass, but it definitely comes close to rivaling the UK pressings, the Harry T. Moss versions that I really like a lot of Rubber Soul. It's got great, great warmth to it, this Mobile Fidelity pressing, but it doesn't surpass my favorite UK stereo pressings of Rubber Soul, but it's still a very, very good pressing of this album. So, Rubber Soul. And next up is, of course, Revolver. If I had to choose my favorite Beatles album, I would say it was Revolver. So Revolver, I gotta say on this, there's something a little bit weird happening with this pressing. Now, it's kind of lacking some low end, and it's also just kind of, the highs seem a little bit dull, which is kind of weird for a Mobile Fidelity pressing, because the highs are usually a little bit too much. But for this one, it didn't really do it for me. I wouldn't say it's a bad pressing at all, but it's definitely, it doesn't even compare to some of my favorite pressings of Revolver. My favorite stereo pressing of Revolver is a German late 60s, early 70s pressing on the Blue label. That is hands down my favorite pressing of Revolver. But I also like some of the later German pressings that are on the Apple label as well. So, but even a good Harry T. Moss pressing, a UK pressing from the Blue Box, beats this hands down in my opinion. So, not a big fan of Revolver within this box set. I gotta say though, Revolver is one of the hardest Beatles albums to get right as far as finding the right pressing for. There's just something about it that it has to be perfect to really come through. So Revolver, not my favorite in this box set. Next up, of course, we have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Here it is. Now, there's a rumor going around, I don't know if this is true or not, and I don't own this other pressing to compare the two, But the rumor that I've read online is that the UHRQ pressing, or UHQR, I could be saying that wrong. Either way, here's a picture of it over here. That they use the exact same stampers for that they used for this pressing of Sgt. Pepper. I kind of don't believe that to be true. I think they used separate stampers for that. But from a lot of people, what they say online, this is other people's opinions now that I've read, they say that this is very similar to that pressing that is so praised by a lot of people. I have heard a friend of mine owns that pressing that was made by Mobile Fidelity, and it does sound excellent. This also sounds excellent to my ears. I was really impressed with this. I've heard this pressing before. I have a friend who has this box set, and he actually loaned me, I think he loaned me 3 of the records from this. One of them was Sgt. Pepper. I think the other 2 were Revolver, and then I think the White Album also. But I've always liked this version of Sgt. Pepper, this pressing. It really has great sound to it. It rivals, for me, the Harry T. Moss UK pressings you can get from the Blue Box. It's got great clarity, great presence, great low end as well. It really feels natural and just a very warm sound from this Mobile Fidelity pressing of Sgt. Pepper. So I really like this a lot. This is probably, I'd say with the Beatles is my favorite pressing out of this. And then I also like Abbey Road, and then I think Sgt. Pepper is probably next in order of what I really like of these pressings. So Sgt. Pepper is a hit for me in this box set. Okay, so they put Magical Mystery Tour out of order in this box set. So they have them all numbered here, and Sgt. Pepper was number 8, and number 9 is the first disc of the White Album. So they break up the White Album into individual LPs, which is all right. So I'm just going to talk about them, both of the LPs at the same time. Obviously, this is record 1, this is record 2. The White Album is a bit of a miss for me on this box set. It's very thin sounding, is what I would say. It doesn't have a lot of low end. Now the White Album, all the original pressings of the White Album, they all are kind of lacking low end for me. My favorite pressing of the White Album is a German pressing on, I think it's from the early 70s, and that pressing is such a beautiful pressing. It really presents the White Album in, to me, the best way. If you want the original UK, or I shouldn't say UK, the original stereo mix. This is also the original stereo mix, obviously, but it's just kind of lacking something. It's a little thin, like I said. The other thing that's really interesting about this White Album pressing, records 1 and 2, this is quieter than all the other records in this Mobile Fidelity box set. And it's a lot quieter. It's very noticeable. I had to turn up my stereo quite a bit when I listened to the White Album. I don't know if that's just how it was, that's how the actual master tape is, the stereo master tape. There's a picture over here at Abbey Road, that it's just kind of quiet compared to other Beatles masters, but this is definitely quiet on this box set, and yeah, that's not a bad thing necessarily. It just kind of stood out to me that this was quite a bit different. But yeah, overall, just kind of a thin sound, not a lot of low end, and just not one of my favorite ways to listen to the White Album. Again, like Revolver, it's a Beatles pressing that's very hard to get right, in my opinion, because there's just so many, the songs on the White Album, as I'm sure a lot of you know, I know you know, are so diverse. You get acoustic songs with heavy rock songs, with kind of music hall songs, so it's a lot of stuff going on here. But Mobile Fidelity version just isn't really my favorite, so that's the White Album. Next up, I think this is, okay, so next up in the box set is the Yellow Submarine album. And I gotta admit, this is one that I didn't listen to all that much. The others I listened to quite a lot. I listened to this one time. It sounded okay to me, is how I would describe it. I didn't even listen to side 2, which is the George Martin orchestrations. I do like the George Martin orchestrations, but I have to be in the right mood to listen to those. So I'm just basing what I'm telling you now off of just side one that obviously features like Hey Bulldog, which is one of my all-time favorite Beatles songs. Altogether now, it's all too much, you know, the Yellow Submarine songs. So, like I said, on here, they're fine, but I think a Harry T. Moss UK pressing from the Blue Box will beat this pretty much every single time. That's really my go-to for Yellow Submarine is the Harry T. Moss version that you can find in the Blue Box. That one sounds great to me. A lot of the Yellow Submarine songs are not some of my favorite Beatles songs, so it's an album that I don't really pull out all that much. And really, if I have to be totally honest, when I want to listen to the Yellow Submarine songs on vinyl, I really like the Yellow Submarine song track that was released in, I believe it was 2000 or 1999, around that time period. And I have a UK pressing of that, and I think it sounds excellent. And those were all remixed, I should say. So that's really my favorite way to listen to the Yellow Submarine songs. But if I want to hear the original stereo mixes of the songs, I'll go for a Harry T. Moss Blue Box pressing. Again, though, this is not a bad sounding pressing in any way. It's just, it's nothing special is what I would say. Next up, I think now it is Magical Mystery Tour, but I could be wrong. Like I said, it gets a little out of order here. Let's see. No. Next up is Abbey Road, oddly enough. So this is Abbey Road. I've talked about this in the past. I really like this Mobile Fidelity version of Abbey Road a lot. Again, it definitely, to my ears at least, it definitely has that the highs are way boosted and the lows are boosted. In this case, I think it works for Abbey Road. Abbey Road is just an amazing recording. I don't need to tell you that. But it really benefits from whatever Mobile Fidelity did, it benefits here. It's crystal clear. The highs are just so beautiful. The drums and the bass really come through in a natural way. I'm a big fan of the Abbey Road Mobile Fidelity pressing. That being said, my favorite Abbey Road pressing is an original UK pressing from 1969. I have a couple of those and they're just so fantastic. They do beat this by quite a lot. That being said, this is a great version of Abbey Road to own as well. It's a different kind of listening experience than the original UK pressing, but it's really, really good. So another highlight of this Mobile Fidelity box set. So that was record number 12 in this set. So now number 13 is, I believe, yeah, Magical Mystery Tour. This is the When It Gets Bad. I've talked about this before, and there's a link here, up here, I think, if you want to watch my video on the Magical Mystery Tour Mobile Fidelity pressing, the whole story behind that, how they used the wrong master tapes, and if I just sum it all up, basically what's wrong with this is side 2 features a bunch of songs in fake stereo, because the original Capitol album of Magical Mystery Tour they put together, they didn't have stereo versions of a lot of the songs, like Penny Lane, Baby You're Rich Man, All I Need Is Love. So they only had mono masters from the singles, and they just made fake stereo versions of those. Unfortunately, that is the master tape that somehow Mobile Fidelity that's the tape they got for Magical Mystery Tour, and that's what they pressed to vinyl, and this is what you get, is this version of Magical Mystery Tour, which is really too bad, because arguably one of the best Beatle pressings you can get is the German Magical Mystery Tour, which I'll show you a picture of that over here. I've raved about that, others rave about it. It's one of the best sounding Beatles pressings just out there. It's a stunning display of how great a record can sound. This is just nowhere near that, not even in the same league. That being said, the songs on the first side sound pretty good. They're not amazing, but they're pretty good. The songs on the second side, that's where it's really bad. So not a great one here at Magical Mystery Tour. Of course, I love the Magical Mystery Tour album, so I'm not... All my negative comments, by the way, are not referring to the Beatles songs or their songwriting or the albums themselves, just the pressing. So just want to get that straight. I'm sure you already knew that, of course. Next up is, and this is the last record in the set, this is Let It Be. This sounds great to me also. It really rivals a lot of the best pressings of Let It Be that I've heard or that I have in my collection as well. And you know, over the years, my favorite pressing of Let It Be has kind of changed here and there. At times, there's a Capitol pressing with the rainbow label. It's from like the early 80s. That to me sounds really, really good. I love the original UK pressing of Let It Be. I have a bunch of those, also sound great. This one, like those, sounds great. The clarity is really, really nice. It's a very warm recording. And that, a lot of credit goes to Glenn Johns, who engineered the Let It Be sessions, most of the Let It Be sessions. It's a different sounding Beatles album, as I'm sure a lot of you know, and it's presented really nicely on this Mobile Fidelity pressing. So I really, really like it. It's not my all-time favorite or anything like that, but it's a very, very nice pressing, and I'm happy to own it. So those are the records within this Mobile Fidelity box set, and those are my thoughts on them. I never thought I would own this box set, I gotta say. It goes for just insane amounts of money online, and I think I got this one for, let's see, I got it right when my daughter was born. So I got it like in, I don't know, like right around July of last year. And actually, I think I got it a little bit before that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whenever I got it for a very good price. I got it for under, I'll say like, I think it was like around $300, something like that. I see these go for upwards of like $1,500 to $2,000. I don't think they're worth that. I think anywhere from $500 or below, that's kind of that's what I would pay for something like this. Is it essential to your Beatles collection? No. If you're a Beatle fanatic like I am, and probably like a lot of you are, it kind of is maybe essential, because when this came out in 1982, this was a big deal. I know a lot of people who still to this day, and there are a lot of older people that I know, to this day claim this is the best way to listen to the Beatles, is the Mobile Fidelity box set. I think over time, a lot of us have come to the conclusion that there are definitely better pressings out there for Beatle records. But like I said, at the time, before the internet and all that, this was the best way to listen to the Beatles on vinyl without having the knowledge we have now. Like, you know, having YouTube where people could tell you, this is a great pressing, go check it out, or, you know, you can go on Discogs and do so much research. But back in the day in '82, Mobile Fidelity presented all the Beatles albums in this way, in the best possible way they could do it at that time with the resources they had. And this was the way to listen to the Beatles. So with that being said, I really, really like this box set, and I'm really happy to own it. And like I said, I didn't think I'd ever have it. And besides the fact that it's just fun to listen to, it really looks cool. So that's a big factor for me as well. Having it just sit on this shelf back here next to a bunch of my other Beatles box sets, like the Blue Box and the 2012 stereo remasters and the mono box, it all just looks nice together. So that's my take on the Beatles Mobile Fidelity box set. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. This is a bit of a controversial box set, I know, so I'm sure a lot of people are going to have strong opinions about it in the comments. I just ask, when we're talking about anything regarding the Beatles or music or whatever, just remember, everyone's opinion is valuable, and it's okay if people don't like certain things. And I feel ridiculous saying this, but it's just, I feel like it needs to be said. It's okay to have a strong opinion, and it's okay to not like someone else's opinion, but let's just be civil in the comments. Let's try to be kind to each other. We all are here because we like the Beatles and we like records, so that's what it's all about. So, but please feel free to comment down below your thoughts on this box set, and if you agree with what I said, maybe you think a lot of what I said is really crazy, and that's fine too. So let me know in the comments below. More videos to come. So hope you're all doing well. Take care, and bye for now.